Welcome. Today we're going to talk about SharePoint and Hyper-V, working with the Microsoft Hyper-V solution and accessing a SharePoint and protecting and failing over that application with the InMage Systems solution. First, I'd like to show you what we have here, our Hyper-V source machine. You can see that we have several machines that are operating and they're functional. These would be the production server of that Microsoft Hyper-V server. If I connect over into the remote site, the DR location, you can see that we have Hypervisor up and running as well. And we have a couple of machines designated for DR. And you will notice they're in an offline state. That's not to be concerned. Simply they are offline and critical to the Hypervisor manager because the disks are receiving the block level replications from InMage. So if we connect into the actual SharePoint server here today, you can see that we simply have a web page up and running, and we'll go ahead and simply create a document, and we'll actually fail over that document and validate that it is there and ready to use. So here we'll add a new discussion item, and here we go. We'll simply make a test subject here, and there's our test document. We'll go ahead and save that. And you'll see that we have a test document today that has been created in here. This would be similar to a production environment up and running. Now what we want to do is we want to actually verify from the InMage UI that everything is healthy from a replication standpoint. As I bring up the InMage Systems user interface, you'll notice that underneath the Monitor tab and the Protection Health Plans we have our SharePoint 2012 up and running here. You can see that we actually are protecting the volume that's holding SharePoint, and you can see we have a couple of minutes of RPO, and we're in differential sync. Also, you can see that we have application readiness checks running, and we have consistency points running every 10 minutes, so that we're able to monitor and track consistent state of SharePoint and the underlying database that goes with SharePoint. When we get into the plan details of our SharePoint, you can see that we have pre-created some recovery scenarios. Whether it's a planned or an unplanned failover, we have failback and we have fast failback, and we have some DR exercises that can be done. Today we're going to go ahead and use a planned failover of this event. So we'll go ahead and select the Manage Recovery Scenarios, and we will find our planned failover scenario, and we'll choose the Run option in that. We select the Run option, it'll simply tell us what it's going to do in the execution status here. There's a couple of steps. We're going to issue a consistency point immediately so we don't lose any data, which will be important because we just added that new note. And we'll also roll back the application volumes to that consistency point that was just created. I select Save here, and you can see that we are running in progress. We'll go ahead and monitor this progress for just a moment. As you can see, we're starting to receive some progress on what's going on the primary location while we're waiting for the secondary location to continue. You'll also notice that the screen is set to refresh every 15 seconds so that we can keep an accurate tab of what's happening within this environment. And there we have received some feedback from the remote site or the DR site server, letting us know that they were successful on the process that was running over there. We will now start the execution status, and we will soon be able to see status updates on these two items for the failover process. You can see here that we now have successfully gone through all the steps of recovering that server onto the remote or the DR side. At this time, we'll go ahead and select the hypervisor of the DR machine. And here's our Hyper-V management console interface. We'll go ahead and notice that we are no longer in an offline critical state because we've presented the volumes to this target Hyper-V management server. At this point, we just simply need to start that machine. So I'll go ahead and I will turn that machine on, and we will go ahead and connect to that machine as well. We'll simply authenticate into this server. Once we have authenticated into this 2012 server, we'll simply launch our Internet Explorer, you'll notice that we also prompt the shutdown event tracker so that you may track the reason for bringing this DR machine online. At this time, Internet Explorer should be available for us with our SharePoint application. Simply open that up. I've authenticated in, and you can see that we have our new item that's still available, our testing of failover for today. Go ahead and select that so that we may add some additional comments to it. And you can see that we have our test there. We'll make a quick reply. We'll go ahead and save that. You can see that we've now actively used our SharePoint, and we have failed it over into our remote or our DR Hyper-V server.